Welcome to ILTV's Israel Daily. I'm Nadarga Veilazi, and tonight's news is presented to you by American Friends of Magen David Adom, Israel's official medical first responders.
Whether they're treating the victims of rocket attacks or heart attacks, the paramedics of Magen David Adom, Israel's paramedic and Red Cross service, are saving lives even when it means risking their own. And in Israel's current conflict, your support is more important than ever. Help save a life and support Magen David Adom today. Go to afmda.org/Israel.
And now, coming up in today's newscast, Operation Guardian of the Walls entering its 11th day as both sides preparing for a ceasefire. Foreign ministers from Germany, the Czech Republic, and Slovakia land in Israel in a show of solidarity and support. And residents from the south share their experiences living along the Gaza border. Operation Guardian of the Walls has entered its 11th day today, with heavy rocket attacks resuming Thursday morning after a relatively quiet night on Wednesday. A house in Ashkelon suffered a direct hit, with one person moderately injured. Now, despite the rocket fire, both sides are preparing for a ceasefire, which, according to multiple reports, could take effect as early as Friday. ILTV's Hannah Rifkin with the report.
Israelis had a relatively quiet night on Wednesday, a short respite from rocket attacks from around 1 a.m. until Thursday morning around 9:30 a.m., when Hamas began firing rockets at Israel's southern border towns again. Additionally, a soldier was lightly injured by shrapnel Thursday as an anti-tank missile was fired at an empty bus along the Gaza border. No additional injuries have been reported so far. According to the IDF, some 70 rockets were fired by Hamas between 7 p.m. Wednesday and 7 a.m. Thursday, with 10 of those falling back into Gaza. Israeli air defenses were able to intercept 90% of the rockets. The IDF also minimizing the intensity of its attacks Wednesday night, though announcing it continued to attack Hamas's underground tunnel system, dubbed the Metro. Hamas invests millions and millions of dollars digging their terror tunnels, with the IDF estimating that one tunnel costs an estimated $800,000, with 2 miles of a terror tunnel, the equivalent of supplying the entire Gaza Strip limitless electricity for 1 week. The IDF also said it struck additional terrorist infrastructure, including 2 weapons depots located in the homes of Hamas operatives, as well as 2 underground rocket launching stations in Jabalia that were used, among other things, to fire rockets at Tel Aviv in recent days. Additionally, the IDF targeted a Hamas multi-barrel rocket launcher, which was armed with 5 rockets ready to target Israeli civilians. Meanwhile, as the IDF continued to protect its southern border, on Wednesday 4 rockets were launched from southern Lebanon towards Israel's northern cities. Israel's missile defense system intercepted 1 rocket, while another landed in an open area, and 2 fell in the Mediterranean Sea. This marks the 3rd time that rockets were launched from Israel's northern border since the beginning of the conflict. According to reports, the Iranian-backed Hezbollah terror group was not involved in the incident, with the rockets most likely being fired by Palestinian factions in solidarity with Gaza. Despite the ongoing conflict, there is a sense of de-escalation, with both the IDF and Hamas minimizing the intensity of their attacks. Senior Hamas officials told CNN that a ceasefire could happen very soon, possibly within 24 hours. This follows a statement Wednesday by deputy head of Hamas's political bureau, Musa Abu Marzouk, who said he expected a ceasefire within a day or 2. And the New York Times, citing Israeli officials familiar with negotiations, that a ceasefire agreement could take place within the next 2 days. However, Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, on his part, has remained adamant that despite international pressures, Israel seeks to see the military operation through to the end before negotiating a ceasefire.
כל יום שעובר, אנחנו פוגעים בעוד יכולות של ארגוני הטרור. מסכלים עוד מפקדים בכירים, מפילים עוד מגדלי טרור, פוגעים בעוד מצבורי נשק. כפי שאמרתי היום לשגרירים שנאספו כאן, זו הזכות הטבעית של ישראל.
And joining us now via Zoom live from Ashkelon with more on the IDF operation in Gaza is IDF spokesperson Major Doron Spielman. Welcome. So what can you tell us about the situation on the border at the moment?
The situation on the border at the moment is that the residents of Ashkelon, Ashdod, and the surrounding areas around the Gaza Strip have been under a barrage of incessant rocket fire. I'm standing right now in a home that was a normal home, a place where a daughter and a son were together with their parents up until a few minutes ago, until all of their dreams were shattered. By a miracle, nobody was killed in this blast because they entered their contained and safe facility, and therefore they're still alive at this time. However, this entire home has been reduced. It will have to be leveled and rebuilt, but they're happy to be alive. This is the situation all over. There are red sirens. I just hit the ground for the first time ever inside a home that had been destroyed an hour before.
Now, there is talk of a ceasefire in the coming days. I mean, has the IDF been able to effectively reach all of its objectives?
The idea of a ceasefire from the IDF's perspective is off the table until people like these people, Sigal, who lives in this home, and her children and her husband are able to go to sleep at night and have a cup of coffee during the day without worrying that a rocket's going to fall on their head. We are here, the IDF, we have a number of goals, and while we've had enormous success along this way and hit over 1,000 targets, Hamas still has rockets at their disposal, which they're able to fire. So until there is peace in this area, and these people are able to live with their dreams and go about their lives, from our perspective, there are many goals yet to reach.
Now, I understand that you're standing in the house in Ashkelon. Can you maybe show us some of the damage that's behind you?
Sure. Absolutely. I will take you with me and show you. You can see there's broken glass all around me. That was the side entrance. You can see the entire home that was simply bombed out. Behind me here is what used to be a wall right over here. That's no longer here. You can see it behind me. This has all been blasted open. The home is, again, this was a normal living room up until about an hour and a half ago, when Hamas fired a rocket. That rocket had a name on it. The name was Israel. They don't differentiate, as we know, between Jews or Arabs or people from Thailand. They just want to cause destruction in Israel. And this is the result. I mean, when people ask, of course, why is the IDF, why is Israel in this operation? There's no words. We just need to look at what's around me. No country in the world would tolerate their citizens being subject.
Now, you mentioned some successes of the IDF in Operation Guardian of the Walls. I mean, what are some of the major successes that the IDF can say that they've effectively delivered to Hamas?
I think most importantly is what has been called the Metro, which is the underground terror system. We know over the last 10 years, Hamas has received an enormous amount of aid from the international community, and that most of that aid was directed to building a sophisticated, highly sophisticated underground terror network from which they can launch weapons, plan strikes, transport without the eyes of the IDF and the world looking at them. And as you're showing in the video in front of you, they put most of their money there, and we have managed to degrade the majority of that system. More than 70 miles of that system, 120 kilometers, is no longer in use. That is still an ongoing project, but we've struck them a major blow. That's number one. Number two, the rockets, the rocket launchers. We've taken out many of their rocket manufacturing facilities, along with many of their top commanders. We've hit their number 2 and 3 commanders have both been neutralized on an intel basis. We've hit the northern commander of the Gaza Strip. You know, Hamas didn't expect Israel to have so much resilience. And I think they really underestimated not only the IDF, which is an effective military force and trying to protect our civilians and theirs while taking out their terror infrastructure, but they underestimated the Israeli public. The woman of this home that I'm standing in right now, she's only had 1 hour to recuperate. And her message is they're going to rebuild. She's been here in Ashkelon for 30 years with her son, her daughter, and her husband, and they're going to rebuild their lives and move on. And she just says, continue doing what you need to do so that I can have peace. And that's the message, and that's what we're here for.
All right, IDF spokesperson Major Doron Spielman, thank you so much for taking the time to speak with us today.
Thank you.
The IDF has said that one of its main objectives in this current operation is to take out senior Hamas and Palestinian Islamic Jihad figures in Gaza, with Mohammed Deif, a name you may have heard before, at the top of the list. But who is Mohammed Deif, and why is Israel targeting him? Hannah Rifkin with the report.
The IDF has tried and failed to kill Mohammed Deif, the commander of Hamas's military wing, the Ezzedine al-Qassam brigades, not once, but twice since the beginning of Operation Guardian of the Walls, the IDF confirmed this week. While it did not release the details of the operations, the military said Deif was able to get away at the last minute both times. Considered by the Israeli military to be a skilled commander, Deif is the mastermind behind numerous terrorist attacks which have killed Israeli citizens. He has been on Israel's most wanted list for the past 25 years. Israeli security services have tried to kill Deif multiple times over the years. The first attempt took place in 2001 and another in 2002, which left him partially blind. A third attempt was made in 2003, and an attempt in 2006 left him seriously injured, losing both of his legs and an arm. In the 2014 Gaza war, Israel made another attempt, initially believing Deif had been killed. He managed to survive that attack as well, however, though his wife and children did not. Earlier this week, the head of the IDF Southern Command, Eliezer Toledano, told Israel's Channel 12 News that Mohammed Deif, along with Yahya Sinwar, Hamas's Gaza leader, remained in Israel's sights. Whether or not Israel is able to finally and successfully target Mohammed Deif until the ceasefire is reached remains to be seen, though no doubt he will continue to be on Israel's radar.
While it looks as though Israel and Hamas are heading towards a ceasefire agreement, Israel has made clear it intends to see this round of fighting through until the end. That is, until it reaches its objectives. Well, this begs the question, what has been Israel's objective with the latest round of fighting? And will it manage to restore security to Israel's citizens and curb Hamas hostility in the future? Here with us to discuss is Brigadier General in Reserves Ilan Biton, former commander of Israel's air defense. Thank you for joining us. So we've heard Prime Minister Netanyahu saying the objective of Operation Guardian of the Walls is to restore peace and quiet to Israeli civilians. Now, after nearly 2 weeks of fighting until the ceasefire takes effect, can we actually say that Israel will reach this objective?
I think Israel is really very close to that. We need to understand that there are two ways to fight terror organization. One, to destroy him totally. It means that we should maneuver with ground forces into Gaza Strip. And we don't want to do that. And the second one is make him understand that he should think very carefully the next time if he would like to start with this kind of attack. So we try to convince him that it's not a good idea. Now, the tolerance, if I say it's something that consciences, working on his consciences, and he always evaluate what is the benefit that it can think he's got, or the damages, and try to understand which one is more bigger. So we are continue to make him pay and to understand that it was a very bad idea to start.
I'm afraid that's all the time we have. Thank you so much for taking the time to join us today.
Thank you very much. Good evening.
Now, while international pressure amps up on Israel to reach a ceasefire agreement with Hamas, several countries have continued to express their solidarity with the Jewish state. The foreign minister of Germany, Heiko Maas, arrived in Israel on Thursday in a show of support. He was invited by Israeli Foreign Minister Gabi Ashkenazi. The foreign ministers of the Czech Republic and Slovakia also arriving in Israel Thursday. The show of solidarity comes on the heels of mounting international pressure on Israel, most notably by U.S. President Joe Biden, to reach a ceasefire agreement in the coming days. Biden, who has also expressed his support of Israel's right for self-defense throughout the operation, held a phone call with Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu on Wednesday, saying he expects a significant de-escalation today on the path to a ceasefire. And while Israel has remained adamant that it will complete the operation, all roads seem to be leading towards a ceasefire. Now, over the past week, our screens have been flooded with footage of rockets raining down on Israel, fires ravaging fields, and Israelis running for cover. But the story doesn't end after the cameras turn off. Thousands of Israelis helping out on the home front behind the scenes, firefighters battling fires, and counselors treating PTSD as a result of the rocket fire. And joining us in the studio are three special people doing their part in helping Israelis under fire remain resilient. Eshkol Region Community Center head Michal Uziau, volunteer firefighter and Chalutza resident Yedidia Harush, and Jewish National Fund USA spokesperson in Israel, Yael Levontin. Thank you all. So my first question is for you, Yedidia. How do the fires caused by the incendiary balloons that we're seeing and the rockets from Gaza affect Israelis, farmers, children, and families all living in the southern region?
Thank you so much for having us today. And I would like to give you a few examples. What damage caused by these balloons and kites. And first of all, the damage is not just physical. The damage is beyond. But if you allow me, I just want to give you an example. Now it's the time where we harvest our wheat. Israel is known for its very fine wheat. Most of our wheat gets exported to different countries. It's considered to be the best wheat in the world. And now it's the time where our fields are yellow, they're dry, they're ready to be harvested. And when such balloon lands in the middle of a field and it caused a huge fire because the fire catches very, very quickly, we have to get there in a matter of minutes, if not less, in order to really minimize the damage. We're talking about the damage of millions of shekels, hard work of dedicated farmers.
Now, Michal, you see what many people cannot see. That is the emotional toll on Israelis living along the border with Gaza. So how do you see the current situation manifesting itself in, say, children and families in the Eshkol region and the southern region?
First, you have to understand what does it mean to live here and what does a day-to-day life looks like. If we're talking about more than 4,000 rockets that were shot toward Israel, you have to understand that 1/3 of them landed in Eshkol only in our region. I'm not talking about the entire Gaza envelope, which means that people who live here under the 15 seconds alert, which means whenever the siren will go off, we have 15 seconds to run for our life. So think about what does it cause the children and the parents that are facing this situation, not to talk about the Israeli artillery that you are constantly living right now. We are constantly living right now in a situation of explosions, constantly, day and night. And no one should live in such a way. And our attitude is whoever doesn't have to be here right now, children, parents, they shouldn't. And we, with the help, of course, of our dear friends in Jewish National Fund, we were helping them to get to other places in Israel to get some respite. And you know, I just heard a few days ago, 2 days ago, a mother that once the siren went off, her daughter was in a toilet and she couldn't reach in 15 seconds. So the mother was just covering her daughter with her own body. And think about taking a shower, think about sleeping at night and you have 15 seconds to reach the shelter. So this is the situation that we are dealing with. And yet the most important thing for us is to remember that we are here strong and proud to deal with it. We will hug our children, we will deal with it, we will take them out. And once things comes down, we will go back home. Always, this is home.
Absolutely, Israelis most resilient. Now, you mentioned the Jewish National Fund USA. How exactly do they support you? Michal.
You know, they are not only supporting us in emergency. I always, sometimes I will get a phone call with answers for problems that I didn't even realize that I have. So we always say that they are with us the day before and we can rely on them the day after. Just to talk about the fires that we mentioned before, in 2018, when the fires just started, they asked us if we need some firefighting equipment. And in the beginning we said, no, we're fine, we can handle it. And once things really got bad, and we asked for help, they said, oh, it was already on the way, because when you have this partnership with someone that constantly look on your needs and understand what you need even before you are understanding it, because we are in this day-to-day life and intensity. So first of all, you can see it with the firefighting equipment. You can see it in resiliency, building resilience centers, animal therapy center in Sderot, helping us in therapy. You know, we don't call it PTSD, we call it ongoing trauma. And we don't say trauma centers, we are saying resilience center because we are focused on the resiliency. We're focusing on the strength of our community, not in the victimhood, because we don't see ourselves as victims. We are proud Israelis and we have amazing friends, and together we're doing amazing things. But you can see it, I always say the footprints are everywhere in our community, and I hope that also in quiet times you will come and make a wonderful article about the good life in Ashkelon. We always say it's 99% heaven, 1% hell. Right now we are talking about the 1% of hell, but we have amazing 99%.
Thank you, Michal. Now, Yael, when you see people like Yedidia and Michal working on the communities along the Gaza border, I mean, how does this make you feel?
I am absolutely inspired by them. As someone who works for Jewish National Fund USA, and we support them and we support the land and the people of Israel, seeing them and their commitment day in and day out, just, it takes my breath away. Of course, I also see them and I know them and they're my friends and they're already my family, and we worry about them and we care for them, but we're there for them, and I think they know that. We know that we were there yesterday and we are there today, and we will most definitely be with them also tomorrow. And that's the beauty of Jewish National Fund USA.
Now, how can our American viewers who are watching us right now, if they want to support Israel through the Jewish National Fund USA, how can they do that?
So that's a great question. There's actually a couple different ways that they can do. They can go on our website, jnf.org. We have a Gaza envelope campaign right now talking exactly about the things that Michal and Yedidia just mentioned. The Resilience Center programs, getting 400 kids a day out of the region to kind of just give them some time to breathe and to air out and to have like fun, and then to come back home at the end of the day. We're talking about animal therapy as well, and helping them, re-equipping them with fire and rescue equipment, if it's individual equipment, if it's quick response vehicles and wagons and fire trucks. We want them to have everything they need for today and for tomorrow. Everything that we've done in the past year over COVID has prepared us and is playing an incredible role right now. And everything that we do today is going to play an incredible role tomorrow, because that's what we do. We are with them, we partner with them, and you can reach out to your local professional, or you can go online, and really anything that you can do, just be active, speak up, do, pray, and let's get through this together.
Great. Now, one final question. It's for you, Yedidia. What does it mean to you to have hundreds of thousands of Americans supporting you and the people of Israel through the Jewish National Fund USA?
That's a great question. It always puts a smile on my face, because when I think about it, I think as if I have millions of fingers pushing me to continue and continue to be strong here on the border. And even though we have rockets above our heads as we speak and artillery on the other side, and even though we go to sleep at night and our kids are scared and they're crying, we know that we're going to pass through that, because we're not alone. Because we have all of you in the United States with us. As you said, they're always with us. They've been with us for many years. And you know, even though it's a little hard, we are not taking our head off the target of building our homeland and continuing to flourish. And Hamas should know that our answer to terror is not sending rockets back. Our answer to terror is bringing more families, having more children, building more parks, building more homes, and making this place as most flourished and big as possible. Thank you.
All right, Michal, Yedidia, and Yael, thank you so much for taking the time to join us. All right, that's it for today's news. Today's exchange rate is 3.26 shekels to the American dollar and 2.69 shekels to the Canadian dollar. And finally, for the latest updates and news from ILTV, please like ILTV on Facebook, follow us on Instagram, and subscribe to our YouTube channel, as well as to our newsletter at iltv.tv. I'm the Dargaveh Lazi. Be well, and thank you so much for watching.